Happy Friday, everybody. So glad you're with us. We are speaking about rehab today, and we have amazing guests with us. It's a full house. We're super excited to have you, and I'm going to start out with having y'all introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. We'll start with Barbara.
Good morning. I am Barbara Glass, and I am the owner of Right Around the Corner, and I write about aging, topics related to aging.
Perfect. Adam?
Good morning. My name is Adam Cole. I'm the Director of Memory Care for Villages of Lake Highlands, and I've helped create environments and approaches for rehab designed specifically for people with dementia.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Good morning. I'm Kelly Wolfe. I'm the CEO for Celebration Senior Care. We're the management and operating entity for the Villages of Lake Highlands.
Wonderful.
I'm Joe, and we're excited that everybody's here, and we're just going to get started right away. What actually is rehab?
Okay. I think that's a pretty broad brush. Skilled nursing, we operate a skilled nursing facility that has specialty areas for short-term orthopedic rehabilitation and also for people that have memory issues. So those are very different areas, of course. About 75% of our admissions go home, which is a great thing. So people are able to go back home to their environment. We really focus on person-centered care, so we get to know the person early on through the assessment process so we can tailor their rehab plan to their needs.
And give me an example of why someone, say they're in the hospital, why would they need to go to a rehab versus going home?
Well, most people that come to us, we get a few elective surgeries. You'll have people that will have a joint replacement. So it's something that they've had chronic pain, their hip joint or their knee joint needs to be replaced. So they plan that out with their surgeon, and then they'll even come out sometimes and tour before, and we'll even do what we call prehab with them, where they can come out and get built back up, get strengthened before the surgery, because obviously the surgery takes a lot out of them. It's really hard on people that also have comorbidities, like maybe they have another chronic illness that they're dealing with, such as congestive heart failure or COPD or diabetes. So all of those things are super important to get to know, so we can tailor that plan around, get them in, get them out as fast as possible so they can get back home. And that's good for the Medicare platform too. We obviously have a lot of focus nowadays on cost control. So we want to get people get what they need as fast as possible, get them built back up and get them back into the community and to a lower level of care, such as a home health type environment.
So prehab really does help increase that number. You said the 75% go home. The prehab really does help that.
Absolutely.
That's really amazing. I don't think a lot of people know about that or are doing that. Therefore, could increase, the decrease the level of time to be and have to stay in rehab, but be able to go home because of preventative measures before the surgeries and things like that. I think that's brilliant.
And it's a lower price point.
Well, there's a lot of hospitals that offer that service as well. If they know that their physicians are scheduling these sorts of surgeries, they will also facilitate that process. And if they selected your particular facility, then that's a good place to do it.
Barbara, I know a lot of people think of rehab as alcohol and drug rehab. So explain the difference. How is this different than that type of rehab so people understand the kind of rehab we're talking about?
Well, the type of rehab that we're talking about here, which is to enable individuals to get back to as close to full functionality as they had before. The difference is that with a chemical dependency rehab, it's licensed differently. The therapies are different. Typically, they choose to go there, and it's a prolonged period of time. The outcomes are going to be much longer, and it's just very different. One is physical, one has clinical issues, and the other one is more habitual issues. So it's two different baskets.
And I think that's where patients go into the hospital and they're confused on what their benefits are. Do they go home with home health? Is it round the clock? Is it per visit. They're super confused on that. So walk me through, say my loved one is in the state of New York and I'm out of town and my loved one has dementia and pneumonia, and they have said they're going to send her to rehab for 21 days. So, and I'm at the mercy of that hospital social worker. So how do I know that my mother or father, they're getting the very best care, and what's going to transpire in those 21 days?
So most people naturally just Google it, right? And they get online, and there's some value to that. But you have to be careful what you're Googling and what you're looking for. And, you know, just going to a website or looking at past reviews from people who've been there may or may not be the most accurate. And so that's why it's important to look at like Medicare.gov and Nursing Home Compare, and because those ratings are things that Villages of Lake Highlands and all these other communities, we can't finagle that. You know, those are things that we're rated on based on their guidelines. And so that's going to be more accurate than, you know, online reviews.
Can you repeat the names of those two sites that our customers could go to?
The Medicare.gov Nursing Home Compare would be for skilled nursing facilities.
Yep. And I was going to say, if your loved one in New York has pneumonia and is on a ventilator, for example, then that loved one would probably go to a long-term care, an LTAC, a long-term acute care facility, rather than a rehabilitation center, which is a skilled nursing, because they're on a ventilator. They have they're clinically stable, but they need really, really careful focus on the part of the breathing apparatus, because once they go into a skilled nursing facility, they typically do not take ventilators. And so there are grades of rehabilitation centers but it's all driven by what the patient needs, not by what they choose. Once they know what they need, then there is an element of choice. And that's when you would do Medicare.gov / I think Nursing Home Compare, and check the internet, but also what experiences other people have had that perhaps live in the neighborhood. You would choose it some place that is accessible, and you would ask about their nursing ratio. You would ask a lot of questions. And for example, the Villages, if they have dementia, they actually have a secure unit that coordinates very well with the rehab process. Not all of them have that. Not all of them have secured dementia units. None of them, and they don't have programs that coordinate. So these are questions that you might want to call them and ask them.
Yeah, to that point, historically, it's been said that people with dementia don't really benefit from rehab because the rehab environment, not every rehab environment is secure. And it's sad, but the only things that have really been developed have been something called Wander Guard, where you wear something around your wrist, and any time you get close to an exit door, you've got alarms going off. And then another thing is just being, well, we just locked one of the skilled nursing wings. And to me, that's not very good. I mean, if all these years are we really even trying? I mean, is it that people with dementia are not able to get results, or have we not created the right environment and the right approach to set somebody up with dementia for success? And so that's what we took 2 years to do, is create an entirely different environment that's alarm-free and restraint-free, and it's designed to explore. Nothing's off limits, you know? And then all these little features, like, you know, they say people with dementia, they don't like to take showers. Well, is that the case, or have we not created the environment and the approach that makes people with dementia want to take showers,
or be them at least have them not be fighting the process,
agitated, right? Yeah. So we installed these heaters that blow out heat while you're taking a shower, so you're not cold while you're taking a shower, right? Or personal showers and shower heads that you can that are close to you and not, you know, 5 feet away so that you
so
actually
scary.
can, so it's, you don't feel that far spray. Or if you don't like any spraying, a large built-in shower chair with room for a nice warm basin where you could do your own sponge bath, just giving you options as a person with dementia, so there's not that struggle.
Well, and one question that the loved one can ask is, how long do they have to wait to get the shower? I mean, and because there are some that that wait time is too long and will raise the resistance that you mentioned. So
we had a patient that came on with us that was in a rehab facility for 20 days or 21 days, and when we brought him home, he had surgery and had iodine on his leg from where he had the surgery. It had never been removed. He had never had a shower in those 21 days. I think they documented that they were given, but how do you what is the checklist, or how does with your families, do you say we're going to do showers on these days, or how do you approach that and talk with the families?
Well, with people in our memory care areas, there's really not. We have a schedule to keep things in order, but there's really not. It's on their schedule, and that's the assessment part when they come in, the person-centered assessment that we do, which is so important. We get to know what their triggers are, what times of the day are better for them, and then we tailor that plan around them. So if they need to take a shower at 10 o'clock at night, that's okay, because the way that we staff, it's consistent, and the same staffing that we have in the morning is the same staff that we have in the evening. So you can do those tasks and tailor it around the resident and not around the staff.
I think those are great questions for families to ask.
What is the staffing pattern?
Exactly.
Because that's how they say, oh, we do 5-4-2 or something. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah.
I know.
How many nurses do you have available? How many caregivers do you have available, CNAs, at night?
And what's
or on
the
weekend?
response time?
And the response time.
And the response time.
Is it the person-centered, getting to know them, just like you'd mentioned? I know a lot of facilities, unfortunately, maybe they're not doing that, where they are keeping it on you have to take a shower at this time, and that's also that's also leading to the resistance.
And you do hear that.
Yes. And so being able to ask those questions, I think is going to be a huge help, no matter where the families are, if they are out of state. Because I know that we have clients that we're caring for their loved one and their family members are out of state. And so really having that checklist of what to ask. What are other questions that families should really ask? I mean, nitty gritty.
Staff turnover is a big thing.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What we've been able to do out at the Villages over the last couple of years is have a very robust insurance and 401k plan for our team members. Our model is, take care of the staff first, and then they'll take great care of the residents. So we start with the team. I personally interview everyone that we hire. We go over the culture, making sure that it's a good fit, because it's an investment, and if we're gonna have someone out there, we want to make sure that we pick the right people, and then we really embrace them, take great care of them, and try not to let them go. So we pay competitively. The benefits package is super important. That's important to people. They want to feel like they can go to the doctor and get seen and put their family on the insurance. We cover part of the family's insurance as well. So it's an investment that we've made in our team.
It pays off.
It has
absolutely.
paid off. Yeah.
And one question, as far as when they're in rehab, those Medicare days, how many hours are devoted per day to actually activities related to that rehab?
To the therapy? The max that they can get under Medicare is 720 minutes a week. So that comes out to about 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. Our rehab is very robust. We do 7 days. If you come in on the weekend, you're going to get therapy on the weekend. The last thing you want to do is roll in there at 6 o'clock on Friday night and lay in bed until
for 2 days. Yeah,
but I've seen that,
and you do hear that too. You do hear
Yeah.
that, but there are acute care rehabs. There's a step between the long-term acute care, and then there are acute care rehabs that do up to 5 hours a day, and those are.
However,
But and sometimes the doctor will say, well, that's what you need. Well, but this is much friendlier, 2 hours a day, and they're worn out.
Right. Most
typically.
And the other thing too, with inpatient rehabs, the cost point, especially for insurance companies, they don't want to use those because it's $1,500, $1,800 a day for something that we can do for $500 a day. And they get to count group therapy, and if the therapist is in the room with them doing a bath, they get to count that as therapy. Ours is actually hands-on therapy with the therapist, not a group format. So we feel really good about our outcomes. Our functional improvement scores are extremely high for people that go back home, and it's a good program.
Have you found that some people that have surgery, perhaps it's anesthesia-related dementia that can be reversed? Have you seen that type of
Absolutely.
improvement and go home? Can you give me an example or a couple of clients that you've had that?
That's why we've created 3 different types of rehab on our campus. Not different types, but different living environments. Because that's true. You'll have people come out of the hospital very confused and agitated, but maybe a week later start to clear up.
The older they are, the longer it takes to recover from the anesthetic. And you always have to watch out. I mean, are they developing a UTI? I mean, what other comorbidities do they have? What else is going on? Because the delirium will present itself looking like a worsening memory problem.
Right.
And it's not that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known people that are actually been misdiagnosed for Alzheimer's. Do you believe that? Yeah. But anesthetic will definitely affect that.
And we have people from time to time that will come in and they will start off in our memory area. And then as the fog lifts, a week or 2 later, they wake up one day and it's like, why am I here? And we move them to another area. We really want to make sure back to person-centered care. That's the most important thing that we can do. Everyone's in the right spot. And you're constantly evaluating people because how they are today, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now is different. And that's what you want. You want to be the trajectory to go up.
Okay, say you've got someone, a loved one that has been in rehab for those 20 days, and now they've got to pay a little bit, a copay, but they really are benefiting by staying in rehab. So how do you all approach that and give the listeners just an idea of the direction, their role? And
So Medicare, traditional Medicare is going to pay 100% of the skilled nursing charges for day 1 through day 20. After day 20, there's a copay. It's $100. It changes every year. It's $166.50, I think.
$167.50.
$167.50. Okay, so that goes to most people have a supplement policy. Some don't. So if people don't have a supplement policy, that is the patient responsibility part. We work with people on that. Many people nowadays, probably about 40% of our population are on Medicare replacement plans. So these are Medicare Advantage plans.
Yeah, Advantage. They go under different names, but they're all the same thing.
United Healthcare, but they've basically taken their Medicare benefit. They still have Medicare benefit, of course, but it's being managed by an HMO.
Well, I know my dad fell. He was in the hospital, and he had Humana. And so it was very hard to find a rehab that would take that Humana. So can you explain, and even for me as a healthcare professional, I was confused on that. To me, I thought, okay, Medicare is Medicare. So can you explain that those supplemental, how that gets a kink, causes a kink in choice?
Each different facility, or if it's a management platform, a bigger regional company, they'll have their own contracts with these different HMOs or Medicare plans. So we contract with pretty much all of them. Aetna, United Healthcare umbrella. There's lots of different products under United Healthcare. Secure Horizons, Blue Cross Blue Shield. But each individual facility will be contracted with each different plan. So that being said, something that's very important is whenever you're on these HMOs, it's a little bit different than traditional Medicare. Our case management department has to get a certification to verify medical necessity. And then we have to report back to them, usually about once a week, to get more time. And sometimes we have to advocate for our guests because the insurance company may want them to leave before they're ready. There's a very strong
It does happen.
correlation between sending people home too soon and return to acute.
Well, and that's one thing. Like, we'll get calls for private duty. We were told my dad had 3 weeks in rehab, and it's only been a week, and they're making us send him home. So people do not understand that. What does that mean?
We try to prepare people when they come in. You're under a Medicare benefit, but it is being administered and managed by whoever, whatever the HMO is. So we have care plan meetings with the families within the first 72 hours, and we sit down and speak to them about this is something that's could be an issue, so we want to keep you abreast. We start discharge planning when they walk in the door.
And it's all gauged upon their improvements.
Right.
That's what dictates shortening or lengthening or whatever.
If you get back to your baseline, then you're ready to go. Or if you stop making progress, that's another issue. If you kind of hit the wall.
I think it's worth noting too, with you said Humana and these other HMOs, you don't have to have a 3 midnight stay like you do with traditional Medicare. So with traditional Medicare, you have a 3 midnight stay in the hospital, and that gets your days rolling, and then you can qualify for skilled nursing and rehab. With Humana, you just need to get authorization from your insurance company. So you could actually be at home, get the doctor's order for skilled nursing and rehab, and get authorization and go straight into skilled nursing and rehab without having to have a 3 midnight stay in the hospital.
And
I don't think a lot of people know that.
People don't know that. And so that's with the supplemental policies. Is that right?
No, the supplement policy is what pays the co-insurance if you're on Medicare. But like an example, like what Adam's talking about, let's just say that Acappella, you guys have a patient that's at home not feeling well. They've got a problem with their leg, and they go in to see their primary care physician, and they've got cellulitis. And the doctor says, going to need 7 days of IV antibiotics. Well, you may not be able to do that at home. So if they're on a Medicare replacement plan, not traditional Medicare. If you're on traditional Medicare, you'd have to go into the emergency room, get admitted, get the 3 midnights before you could come to skilled nursing.
And be sure you've been admitted.
Yes.
Very important.
Great point.
That you're not under observation.
Yeah.
You get that, verify that. Yeah.
But if they have a legitimate skill, like they need IV antibiotics or something like that, let's just say that they're also dehydrated and they need some electrolytes and they're weak so they can get therapy while they're with us. So the primary care physician's office could call us. We call whoever their managed care organization is, get the doctor's order, get the certification, direct admit them to skilled nursing. We've just saved the insurance company money from going into an acute care DRG. But most importantly, this is back to person-centered care. I want to keep going back to that. We save someone from having to sit in the emergency room, go to the hospital, potentially have more problems in the hospital.
Get sick.
Yeah. Come on over. Let's get you your IV. Let's get you taken care of, and let's get you back home where you want to live.
Okay, and this is a question for Barbara. Okay, you mentioned the observation. So how is the layman that goes into the hospital going to know if they're admitted or in observation?
You have to ask.
Okay.
You have to ask. And I think any more with healthcare, we have to take control of that process. We can't expect the hospital to tell us that, or the emergency room or whatever. You just simply say, okay, are we admitting? Are we admitted? Are we, what is the status here? And keep asking until you get that documentation that you have actually been admitted.
Great point.
Yeah.
It's also important in the hospital. There are going to be a lot of people visiting you.
Yes.
And you have to remember that you have a choice. Doctors will say you really should go here. Case managers say I would recommend you go here. You might have marketers come in and say you should do this, you should do that. But you have a choice. And that you just need to be aware of that, because I think sometimes people get into a situation and they're like, well, the doctor said I had to go to this one. I don't really want to go to that rehab, but that's what the doctor said. And no, you have a choice. You can go wherever you want.
I think people are getting better about that. People feel more empowered now than they used to. The white coat
simply
syndrome
have
isn't
to.
as bad as it used to be. But kind of like what we were talking about yesterday, you don't want to wait until moms in the hospital on a ventilator. It's kind of like we were talking. If you're expecting to have a baby, you're not going to figure out what hospital you're going to have it at.
The day before.
The day before.
No,
You
definitely.
do planning.
So if you have a family member who you can see it coming on the horizon, you need to start thinking. Go out there and take a look at some places. Get to know the management team out there.
Yeah.
You know.
An important part of while you're going through rehab is communication. And if you get a feel from the management team as you're touring that they're not really approachable, well, that's a bad sign, because you're going to need a lot of communication as you're going through that whole rehab process. It's more than just the first 72 hours and once a week care plans or whatever. It's almost like it's one day at a time, especially when you're working with memory care. And then look at the different types of rehab that they have. We have 3 different types of rehab on our campus. We've got, regular skilled nursing and rehab, early to mid-stage rehab environments for people with dementia, late stage rehab environments for people with dementia. We even have different rehab gyms. So you might walk into a huge rehab gym with all this stuff going on. It might look really cool, but you might think of your loved one and like, would they get overwhelmed?
They won't function well in this. Yeah.
So we created one-to-one rehab gyms as well. And if the community doesn't even have those options, it might not be the fit for your loved one. So you just have to take the time ahead of time.
Yeah,
go research.
It's dependent on what you need to recover as to what basket of rehab.
Yeah.
But after that, you have choices. And remember that. You have rights and you have choices.
And you need to be proactive.
And you need to be proactive.
And this has been such an awesome podcast. And we are so appreciative of your time and information. And I want to go around and just give us your information, phone number, email, however we could get in touch. Like, say somebody has a question. I always say call Acappella. If I don't have the answer for you, I can find somebody that does. So I know you all have that approach too. If somebody just has questions about rehab and they're confused, can they call you? Can they call you, Barbara?
Sure.
You can call us directly. My cell phone number is 214-697-6214.
Well, if that's not transparent, that's awesome. That's great.
We'll find you.
It's
That's
on the
wonderful.
business card.
Thank you so much, everyone. And we appreciate it. And we want to have y'all back and just have an awesome day.
Thank you.
Like us
Thank you,
on
Joan.
Facebook, share comments, and we appreciate your time. We could talk about this all day. So have a good weekend. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.